Look at the time. It must be legal AF after dark. And in the most recent edition, we just talked about the contrast that's being exhibited between the only two leading candidates for the presidency. The unhinged, dangerous, untethered to reality, dystopic, apocalyptic campaign being run, is it a campaign? By Donald Trump on one side, and a joyful Kamala Harris, protector of women's rights, protector of civil rights, protector of voting rights, protector of the rule of law, as only she can, making her way joyfully from packed house to packed house with all sorts of celebrities in tow to motivate people to get out the vote. And we talk about it in the context of law and policy and law and politics on Legal AF. Take a listen.
Salty, if we can, let's first I want to pull up the picture of Lara Trump. And then I want to pull up the picture of John Kelly. So let me tell you, in America, I don't want and I don't recognize. Okay. And there's a lot going on in this picture. As the Patriot Takes account says, this is the chair of the Republican Party, Lara Trump, wearing a giant Trump necklace for her interview with paid Russian disinformation asset Benny Johnson. Now, Benny Johnson's one of those people who were mentioned in the DOJ indictment, who was working for that company that got all of the money from Russia to push all of the kind of pro-Russia, anti-American stuff. So there you have him interviewing her, wearing a massive face of Donald Trump, like the same way, for those who are listening on audio, you may remember like the Flavor Flav clock that he would wear, in the 80s. She has that version of Donald Trump's face, and she's being serious. This is what they do. This is what they wear. The America I recognize is General John Kelly. I think we got a photo of John Kelly. He's a 4-star general, someone of high integrity and high character, who Donald Trump and MAGA absolutely hate. He was Donald Trump's selection, this guy, and he's telling us that Donald Trump doesn't want our legal system. I think that's foundational to our show, and it's what we've been talking about. He doesn't want a legal system where there are juries, where there's evidence. He wants the Putin type of system. And Vice President Kamala Harris just put out an ad using the voice of General John Kelly. Let's play it.
Do you think he's a fascist?
He certainly falls into the general definition of a fascist. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultranationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader. The former president, certainly an authoritarian, using the military to go after American citizens is a very, very bad thing. He admires people who are dictators. He commented more than once that Hitler did some good things too.
If he was left to his own devices, would he be a dictator if he didn't have people around him?
Oh, I think you'd love to be.
When somebody's the president, the authority is total.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
And for those who are just listening on audio, the text is basically just saying, here's Donald Trump's former chief of staff, 4-star general, John Kelly, saying the following. Here's Donald Trump at his recent event in Austin, Texas, saying this is his new line. He says, America's crap. Well, he's not his new line. He's always said America's crap, but he's refined it now to say, I won't even call it that, to say America's a garbage can. We're a garbage can. We're the garbage of the world. We are garbage. And that's what he goes around now saying at his campaigns here. I'll give you one example of it. Let's play it.
Like a garbage can. We're like a garbage can. First time I said it was last night. Gave a speech in Las Vegas. 29,000 people. It was an arena. We set the arena record. That was a big deal arena, too. We set the record, but it was an amazing crowd. The first time I ever said it. I said it, I don't know, it just came out, garbage can. We're like a garbage can for the rest of the world, to dump the people that they don't want.
It wasn't 29,000 people, wasn't anywhere close to that amount. So just a lie that I have to point out. Popok, I think it's just important. We start the show as we get close to the election saying the reality, which is this isn't hyperbolic. His own former chief of staff is saying it. he does not want this legal system where we went to law school with juries, with our Constitution. He doesn't want, but he said he wants to terminate the Constitution, so not a shocker.
No, and yeah, we have to start the show like that. And while he's running ads, while Kamala Harris is running an appropriate ad, taking direct interview quotes from him, from John Kelly about Donald Trump's fascination for and love of Adolf Hitler. And then you stitch it together with the other comments that he's made about using the military against American citizens. I always remind people during my hot takes that everything and everyone that Donald Trump is talking about are fellow American citizens. He thinks it's funny that while Kamala Harris has to run that warning that warning light and warning sound as she goes through all the things that John Kelly just said, he's running simultaneously ads in which he's attacking transgender people and saying that Kamala Harris is for they and them, and then using some photos of people that are, I don't know if they're transgender people, but he's using provocative photos. And I'm for you, and I approve this message. And but what we have to focus on is it's no longer Donald Trump's fascist tendencies. It's that him, combined with the shadow government in exile that he has created, that is waiting for him to get in and hold the door open for them to fill government, implementing the Federalist Society's wet dream of Project 2025 to install in America a theocracy, a church-based system, eliminate our public education system, put up the wall and deport 11 million people, many of whom are doing some dirty jobs that Americans don't want to do in an inhumane immigration system, reduce a woman to second-class citizenship, don't stop at 1/3 of women having no right to bodily autonomy and reproductive rights in America, don't stop until 100% of women don't have that with a national abortion ban, suspend the Constitution on day one, fire Jack Smith within the first 2 seconds of being back in office as soon as he can do it, reward his cronies and judges who supported him with plum jobs in his cabinet all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. And the antidote to everything that you and I are talked about and have talked about is simple. It's at the ballot box. And it's not just you voting. It's you doing everything in your power in the next week, 9 days, to avoid this apocalyptic worldview that we have been presenting, because it's in our hands to do it. This would be a different show if we were literally in exile and we were talking about, like we were in Putin's Russia. Okay, we're not. We have an ability to change the future and to change the ending of this story by going there and bringing 5 and 6 friends with us and voting early and voting on election, whatever you got to do, and get registered while you're. I'm texting right now during our recording with my sister who's having difficulty getting registered in Georgia where she lives because they're rejecting her driver's license online. And I'm guiding her on how to do that, right? Save a vote, make a vote, and vote. And all the things that you and I are talking about will then just be in the speaking of garbage, will be in the dustbin of history because it'll never happen. We will avert it.
No, I think it's important at the top of the show also, and we've been covering this now for several years, to discuss the rights that have been taken away. Freedoms and rights ripped away from people. That's so opposite of the arc of where history should be going. I hear in these speeches whether it's Vice President Kamala Harris speaking to Gen Z or younger generations that, you may have fewer rights than your parents or grandparents have. The only one caveat I would say is it's not may. You currently now have fewer rights than potentially if you're in the generation of kind of just turning 18, 19, and slightly younger, you have less rights than your grandparents had in the United States of America. We've went back beyond past the 70s at this point in 2024 because of Donald Trump's policies and what he's done with the United States Supreme Court. That's not hypothetical. And I just think too, here, Michael Popok, as men, and as fathers to daughters right now, it is, but just in general, this message from Vice President Kamala Harris really resonated with me, where she's like, men across America, what are you doing? Like, do you want to see the women in your life suffer? I think, unfortunately, for some of the Trump supporters, the answer's yes, they do. That's the goal. They look at how men treat women in Afghanistan, and in places like that, and they go, that's what we want. That's truly what they want. But for all the rest of us out there, there's no excuses. Here, let's play this clip from Vice President Kamala Harris's event in Houston, Texas, where she actually spoke in front of over 30,000 people in a completely filled stadium. Play the clip.
I didn't want this. Let's be clear. And the men across America, this needs to be said. Men across America do not want to see their daughters and wives and sisters and mothers put at risk because their rights have been taken. I see the men here, and I thank you. The men of America don't want this.
That's true. I would say most men of America don't want this. What frustrates me, I think, about the MAGA movement also is they can't even own their own policies, right? Because they know how unpopular their policies are. And so they then pretend that they don't do the things that they did, right? I mean, you have Donald Trump and J.D. Vance saying, we saved the Affordable Care Act. As though Americans are stupid. You spent the entire time trying to overturn the Affordable Care Act with concepts of a plan. You overturned Roe v. Wade, which in overturning Roe v. Wade placed IVF and treatments like that at risk as well from being overturned, and other freedoms. And they don't even own up to it. They're like sneaky, they're like, ooh, I don't know what but they identify with they identify with Taliban men. There's no other way to say it. The MAGA men like to see the women in their life suffering and being treated like second-class citizens. If you vote for Trump and you are a man, you hate women. There's no other. I can't be more direct than that. You are a woman hater if you support Donald Trump and you are a man. Period. Full stop. That's it.
Yeah, I like the fact that with Beyonce on the stage in Texas. First of all, I love the fact she went into Texas, indicating a tremendous confidence and strength. She could have been any other place. Pennsylvania, of course, really important. Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, the blue wall. But she decided to take it to Donald Trump in Texas and have Beyonce up on the stage for sure. And the rock stars of our party are all coming out in force for her, and will appeal to different groups. And Barack Obama coming out and rapping Eminem. One of the highlights so far for me of proxies for Kamala Harris campaigning for her. But that stands in stark contrast. Well, let me make the point, then I'll go to the stark contrast. When Kamala Harris said with Beyonce, there will be a national abortion ban passed if Donald Trump gets back into power with any semblance of a majority in the House or the Senate. There will be. And don't allow them, as you said, to be sneaky and act like play both sides. Well, we're not in favor of the national ban, but they are in favor of the national ban because it's in every one of the teachings in the Federalist Society, and Leonard Leo and those that follow him will not rest until they have a women completely subjugated in the United States, backed, as you said, before the 70s. My wife has less rights in this reproductive rights than certainly my mother did at her age in the 1970s by 100%. I never thought I would ever say that leaving law school. But the juxtaposition that we're seeing here is easy. You have, look who is out helping Kamala Harris become Madam President-elect. Look at the proxies that are out there and the sanity that's exhibited by the proxies that are out there. And look who isn't campaigning for Donald Trump. I defy you or anybody in the chat today to tell me 5 people that are credible, that are out on the campaign trail for Donald Trump, that don't have Trump as a last name. Even the ones with the last name are is Ivanka? Nowhere. Where is Melania? Nowhere. Where is Don Jr.? He was in the Balkans last I looked. Where is Eric? Nowhere. Lara Trump? She's running around, as you said, with a Flavor Flav clock around her neck as she's being interviewed by a Russian, effectively a Russian troll, right-wing MAGA Russian troll. And while all that's going on, with no proxies for Donald Trump, it's, Marjorie Taylor Greene, where and why? Matt Gaetz, he should be in jail. So he has no ability, he has no trampoline effect to his proxies. J.D. Vance and him can't be everywhere. That's why he's got to go on Joe Rogan for 3 hours on Joe Rogan because making no new voters, because where else is he going to go and who else is going to campaign for him? No one's filling arenas. That 29,000 figure you mentioned, he said the same number about the people out in front of the McDonald's where he was handing out French fries. And if the corporate media would have pulled back the cameras instead of focused on, this demented hamburglar handing out fake French, well, they were real French fries to fake people in a fake McDonald's, and they just pulled the cameras back, they would have seen pro-democracy protesters fighting Trumpers, MAGA, out in the parking lot. And that is America right now, created by Donald Trump. That, not the fake people, the inflatable people that are in some Nevada arena. That's not real. And so for us, we got to keep talking about how the criminal justice system needs to hold him accountable, but we got to do it in the context and the backdrop of this.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we should talk about, though, too, is how billionaires have scooped up media assets as their little plaything, both to kind of insulate their frail little egos from bad stories, to pump their egos with good stories about themselves because they want to get attention, to deal with their midlife crises, but more significantly also to prop up an oligarchical system in place where they can be the version of Putin's oligarchs, have their monopolies. They're not happy in a system right now where America's GDP is number one and they have 10 private Gulfstream jets. That's not enough, apparently, for the billionaires of the world. They think this system where they have that is unfair. They want to make it so they can not even have to use money to acquire the Gulfstream. Just pay. I would just like a Gulfstream today. Sure, sir. Here you go.
Welcome back. We sit at the intersection of law and politics so you don't have to. We don't blow smoke or sunshine. And if you like that kind of analysis, you'll love our full-length podcast, Legal AF, the podcast, on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this YouTube channel, from MeidasTouch. Or you can pick us up on audio podcast platforms of your choice. And if you're really geeking out on all things Legal AF, we got a new treat. Legal AF, the YouTube channel. You can find us. Our handle is at Legal AFMTN for MeidasTouch Network. I'm the chief curator there. I'm putting together some great information and analysis and commentary. Find out what 50 million people a month already know. Legal AF is the home of law and politics analysis and commentary like no other. And join us there as well for Legal AF, the YouTube channel. You're going to pick up Legal AF, the podcast is there. Contributors that you know and love from the Meidas universe. New contributors, a lot of Michael Popok, that's me. Come over to Legal AF MTN and free subscribe there as well. So until our next podcast, Wednesdays, Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on this MeidasTouch YouTube channel and on podcast platforms that you enjoy. Until my next contribution to all things Legal AF, YouTube channel, podcast, maybe we'll have a Legal AF movie one day. I'm Michael Popok and I'm reporting. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.